Welcome to One Man's Tracks, the secondhand music channel. Northern Europe's impact on metal music simply cannot be overstated, helping to maintain the relevance of the genre, all while pushing it into new radical extremes. It's an endlessly influential and prolific scene that can feel pretty damn intimidating to approach, especially as a North American secondhand shopper. But thanks in part to my persistent curiosity as well as these bands' worldwide success, I finally introduced myself to that pioneering Gothenburg scene by stumbling upon the band In Flames. Originally created as just a side project for multi instrumentalist Jesper Stromblad in 1990, In Flames, alongside groups like At the Gates and Dark Tranquillity, would steadily grow the profile of melodic death metal through the early 90s with their potent, tuneful, collaborative fusings of influences, distinguishing themselves and their city as a progressive metal mecca. With the recruitment of guitarist Glenn Ljungstrom and bassist Johan Larsen, they would get set to release their first LP, the brutal, vengeful, wailing epic Lunar Strain, in August of '94, with session vocals provided by Dark Tranquillity's Mikael Stana, as the band did not yet have a full-time vocalist. They once again borrowed a vocalist for their follow-up EP the next year, this time featuring Dawn's vocalist Henke Forss, uniting as a full band in '95 by adding drummer Bjorn Gelot and Dark Tranquillity's original vocalist Anders Frieden. They would record with Swedish metal production royalty Fredrik Nordstrom and release their band debut, the riff-tastic melodeath classic, The Jester Race, in February of '96. This particular iteration of the band would return to Fredman Studios once more to elaborate and refine on that jester-headed kick-off with this. Released in November of 1997 through Nuclear Blast Records, it's In Flames' third album, Whoracle. A harsh, imposing, atmospheric metal record that signals the need for a societal reset, but doesn't sugarcoat the dirty work or sacrifice needed to make such a change. Turning ingrained, internalized, visceral anguish into externalized, institutional decimation, Whoracle is a warning cry. A raucous transitional album that sees the group venturing mystically into the uncertain darkness, fiercely charging into battle and forging a fiery future out of the resounding resonance of their metallic thunder. This aggressive, adventurous dismantling is a far more theatrical take on melodic death than their prior works, stretching those dynamics to, for the most part, very exciting and engaging results. It leaves us with what some might call a semi-controversial cornerstone in the In Flames catalog that I think is a extremely fitting and fortunate starting point for any curious fan, as it can effectively direct you either forward or backward through the In Flames discography, whether you prefer more mellow or more death with your melodeath. It all sets off with the righteous power metal of Jotun, the growling, gravelly calling out of the unnatural world and the call to arms to tear it all down. It rocks into the phenomenally gripping, smashing, crunchy intro of Food for the Gods. A grand escape that invites you to ascend through its awesome breakdowns and ripping, piercing solo. Ooh, I super dig the brooding Viking metal of gyroscope and its arcane, transcendent themes, it sailing so nicely into the soaring instrumental dialogue with the stars, whose Iron Maidenisms and multi layered guitars make me feel like a roving space pirate. The Hive rocking things back down to earth with its brutal, regretful chorus that absolutely slams, as well as the full on unreal guitar show outro. I mean, damn, what a track. There are moments you get where it slows down and you get an almost folky acoustic instrumentation. It brings a whole new element to tracks like Jester Script that contrast this harsh, impassioned vocal to, I guess, add a little more theatrics, a little more punch to this progressive metal fusioneering they're doing. But I think in this particular case, the song ends up stalling out a bit and kind of overstays its welcome, shifting right back into high gear with morphing into Primal's explosive astral blitz, a speedy smash and release that blasts you with its raw, whirling breakdown. It's feverishly fun, maybe my favorite here, depending on my moodiness or level of disenfranchisement. It's either that or the moving In Flames concert staple. It's a bit of a generic choice, but episode 666 just rocks. Beyond that, I'm not totally sold on the chugging, roaming worlds within the margin song, and as much as their Depeche Mode Everything Counts cover works well thematically within the context of episode 666's rat race, puppet life mantras. I just love the original a little too much to give myself over completely to this fiercely delivered take. The original version of the record does tend to end on a less memorable, bit of a lackluster note. It's the title track, and it's kind of this instrumental, haunted spectacle. It does paint a nice picture of maybe bearing witness to a great battle from a distance, but I'm a little more partial to the enders on the deluxe edition or this version. Clad in Shadows 99 just rocks, far punchier, and this version has three bonuses. We got Goliath's Disarm Their Davids, a new take on that track, as well as live cuts of Jotun and Food for the Gods as tasty little bonus snacks for me. What a blast of an album, and what an absolute powerhouse of a band. It is a real shame that Glenn and Johan departed following the recording of this. It is interesting, however, to see how they progressed and evolved following that, with Bjorn finally making the shift from drums to full-time guitarist, and boy does he shine there. It's maybe not everyone's favorite direction, but there is no doubt that the cleaner vocals, crisper mixes, and more poppy melodic side of metal is definitely what helped increase this band's profile and allowed them to stay relevant to this day. The latest In Flames news is that they've just finished recording their 15th album with their newest drummer and are still playing shows and festivals 30 years on. I'm personally still playing catch up with their 2000s and beyond catalog, so please let me know down in the comments your highlights, recommendations, your favorite In Flames album song, or just some other incredible melodeath groups I ought to keep an eye out for. Here's a couple more rowdy bangers to keep you busy in the meantime. Take all the best care. I'll see you on the next one. Let's go flame on! Pretty right, let's get right in.